Hi, everybody. Welcome to In the Vine Dating Podcast, Season 2, Episode 2. My name is Melissa Chavez, and I'm your host. And here with me, I have...
Yessie.
Shekinah.
Denise.
And I remember that I was so excited in the first episode that I didn't even introduce you guys. So it's a delayed introduction. But by now, you know, this is a crew. This is a posse. This is a panel. So welcome back to our faithful listeners. And to those of you that are tuning in for the first time, welcome. So let's see. Can you guys believe Valentine's Day is less than 2 weeks away from the airing of this episode? That's crazy to me.
It still feels like we were going through December, but there's already decor up like everywhere, like Valentine's decor.
Yeah, these people don't play.
Yeah.
They really don't play. So that means that it's even less time for our event. So make sure that you sign up because we do cap it off to make sure that everybody, that we have the right amount of people and all these things. Last time we had to turn people away, so don't miss out on your appointment.
Yes.
Divine appointment. There you go.
Yes.
Okay, so in speaking of Valentine's Day, I want to ask you girls, do you have any favorite Valentine memories? I'll start with you because I just love touching your shoulder. It brings me comfort.
I was telling Melissa I need shoulder pads if I'm going to be sitting next to her.
You show up with like the football gear.
So if you guys see me just come a little more bulky, you know what? Just protection.
Yeah.
I'm not buff, okay?
Not yet.
Not yet. It's not a favorite memory, but it's a memory that I will always remember, and my husband will too. It's our first Valentine's as a couple. And we were dating, but as like I said before, I wanted to do it very old-fashioned, so we had standards and boundaries, and we weren't allowed to be in the same car together. And I have a problem with locking my keys in my car. Thankfully, I have a car now that doesn't do that. It won't allow me. It'll alarm me the minute that I leave my keys in the car. But I used to always lock it in the car. And I know you mentioned this earlier. You need to call AAA. I maxed out my AAA calls.
Oh my
so
God.
I had to pay for this one. And I remember I just came home from work. I was getting all dolled up. And not only did I lock my keys in the car, but they're also my house keys. So I was locked out of my apartment. So I was sitting outside in by the pool area, and it was cold because February in the AV is cold. And I called Andre and I told him I locked he was like, "Where are you at?" And in the whole rush of me trying to figure things out and try to see if I can call somebody in the office to help me out, call AAA. He's like, "Hey, I'm here." And he was going to take me to this nice restaurant, and we were going to do everything. And he's like, "Hey, where are you at?" And I said, I'm still locked out. I got locked out. I was so nervous to tell you. I've been trying to figure it out. I'm so sorry. He was so sad, so disappointed. And my husband is not a huge Valentine's Day fan. Actually, he doesn't really celebrate holidays. But for this one, because it was our first time, I think it was really special to him.
Right.
And obviously to me. And so,
I'm so sad.
Yeah. So then I wanted to have him come pick me up. And he's like, we set these standards, these boundaries, and I definitely don't want to go back on them. We're trying to be purposeful, right? And so he wasn't able to pick me up, but he showed up at his house all upset. Aww. People were like, "Why aren't you on your date? You just left. You got all dressed up." And he was all sad that he couldn't make it. He was actually really upset with me, I think offended for a little bit because I kind of messed it up. I don't want to say that.
I was going to say it right now. I know where your mind was going.
I didn't know if that's appropriate, but I didn't think it was the best time ever. Actually, I was crying outside. Aww. And I was like, "Just pick me up." And I was like, "Forget our boundaries." But
Let's get married right now.
Right now. Puppy lit. Yeah, but we pretty much just the next day made sure that it was all okay, and I didn't forget my keys. And then every time we would go on a date or something, he'd text me, "Don't leave your keys in the car." It became a thing. Again, I'm so thankful that cars now are invented that they won't allow things like that to happen. But it was a very tragic first Valentine's Day.
Thank God you had your phone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because then imagine he probably. Oh, he was worried because he's like, where are you at? He was actually worried that I got in an accident or something because I wasn't there. And usually, like, obviously that's a date I'm going to be there.
Yeah. Girl, yes.
Yeah. But one date that I did have, this was once we were married, I think our first one, he had bought me a makeup vanity with like Bluetooth speakers and everything. And I'm not much of a gift person, but when I received this one, I've been wanting one that's like fancy and has like the 3 LED lights for like all of the settings of the day. And then it has like speakers, and then it has like a magnifying area. And he bought that one for me, and then he surprised it, and he built it on my makeup vanity. So when I came home, I saw it, and I thought that was really nice.
So sweet.
Yeah.
I love that.
Practical gifts are
Yes,
the best gifts. Most of the time. Sometimes. Luxury is also good.
It depends who you ask. 'Cause
Depends on who you ask,
not everyone's love language is gifts.
Yeah.
It is mine. I'll own it.
That's why when I said it's not really my gift, but I looked at you.
So it's my number one. Hasn't changed. Always has been. Always will be.
If you like it, like
you
it.
some
every
time.
time.
You know, my husband knew what he was signing up for. He knows till this day.
Yeah. So on that note, Denise, do you have a favorite?
Denise, you got your favorite Valentine's Day?
Only talk like that now, Shakane.
You triggered something in me.
The redneck came out.
Oh my gosh.
Do you have a favorite
My whole
Valentine's
family
Day?
line came out in that.
All the Roberts in the family. All the Bobs.
All the Johns and Williams.
I thought they were going to say Willie's.
That too. Oh, that was my shoulder, you guys. She popped it back in. Anyway, go ahead. Go off, sis. Go off, sis. Yeah.
What was the question?
Go ahead with your bad self.
My favorite Valentine's, Valentine's
Stay memory.
memory. I actually got engaged on Valentine's. So, I mean, that's by far the best memory. That was actually our first Valentine's together, and he took me out. I forgot what city it was, but he knows that I've always wanted to go to Italy. It's still on my bucket list. And so he proposed to me on a gondola ride. And so he took me out. We went to dinner first. And he was funny because at the end, he was like, I was so nervous. I had the ring in my sock, in my shoe. And the whole time I was nervous. Like, what if it falls? And so anyway, so we went. I knew this after, right? But I thought it was so funny because, I mean, he held it together. But we went to dinner, and then we got on the gondola. There was chocolates. There was, I guess, the gentleman. I don't know if there's like a proper name. I'm looking at you like
sure.
you're fancy, you're bougie, like you would know.
Actually, Denise.
I don't know. My whole line of redneck just came out. So.
Yeah, so the guy, took us, and then he was like, "Oh, there's a bottle in the water." And so he was like, "Can you get it? We shouldn't be littering type of thing." And so
You're like,
I was like,
me?
So he's like,
Where did you
"Oh."
find this guy?
He's like, "Oh, a message in a bottle." And so the ambiance was beautiful, clearly, stars, moons, night.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and so he was like, "Oh, there's a message in the bottle." So I opened it, and I said, he's went on, and then he was like, "Will you marry me?" And so I looked at him, and he had the ring. And so I said, I'm sure I said yes. Clearly I said yes.
Here
but
we are, yeah.
I was like, well, I think I was just really shocked. But what really impressed me was the fact that he had spoken to my sister. He had spoken to my parents. Like, he had asked for permission. And so I was like, do my parents know? Like, he was like, yeah. So he had, and then obviously after the fact, I found out that he had talked to my sister first, because he doesn't really speak like Spanish very well. So clearly he spoke to my sister first. And, they were able to talk to my mom and my dad. And, we had gotten the blessing. So, I mean, it was definitely one for the books.
That's amazing.
Mike has always has been very romantic till this day. Like, he is just that person.
Were you expecting
that's my
the
question.
question? Like, or did that come out of nowhere?
Like, when you saw a message in the bottle, did you think like,
Did you expect that you guys were going to get engaged that quick? Really?
No. Yeah. So it was just
Shook.
yeah, so
Take notes. Can we just have him on this podcast again?
I had no idea. I mean, because we hadn't even talked about what kind of rings I liked.
What?
Like, nothing.
There was no inclination.
There was no inclination.
That's crazy.
It was to the point where I didn't even have my nails done because I had no idea.
Wow.
I literally
A
had.
friend should have told you. Yeah, your sis.
Yeah, no, nothing. Obviously, I got my nails done like the next day because I was like, I can't go to, show up to work with the ring and
I'm
my
saying,
nails.
yeah.
But
Exactly.
yeah, no, it was,
Girl math.
yeah,
Girl
total shock.
All right, thank you for sharing. That's awesome. I love to hear it. Shekinah, is there any memory that you would like to share or anything related to Valentine's Day?
You know, Valentine's Day has always been a holiday I've always wanted to love. It just has never worked out for me, to be honest. Valentine's Day, after hearing the beautiful stories, it's like, man, like I want that, So unfortunately, Valentine's Day hasn't ever been a holiday that has panned out in my mind, in my, Disney fairy tale mind,
Right.
like I wanted it to.
So this is love.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you do that so well.
That was me, you guys, by the
No,
way.
it was not you.
That was totally me.
Take it, take it,
Do it
Melissa,
again.
take it.
Let me see. A ver.
I got you, Melissa.
Thank you, Shika. Thank you for believing in me.
It's funny because that question got brought up, and I was like, I don't know if you guys want to ask me that question because I'm not going to keep up with the happy theme. And you guys were like, no, because not everyone has a great Valentine's story. And in fact, Valentine's Day can actually be kind of sad for people. And I'm not going to lie, after what I've experienced in my relationship, for those of you that have heard my interview in season 1, Valentine's Day is a little triggering, to be honest. So it's not my favorite holiday coming up. I'm already planning on treating myself, to be honest. Just knowing that Valentine's Day can be a kind of a depressing day for me. So I'm planning on taking myself out on my own date.
I love it.
And that's what I'm planning on doing. And it'll be my first Valentine's after my divorce. So I'm kind of excited about it, to be honest, and turning it into something that I can love again.
I love that. 2024.
I love that. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, but I think that's amazing. I
Yeah.
remember I've never had like a Valentine's Day like that. So for me, I remember I got good healing with my dad actually one day, and my mom. One day they brought, and I was like, I don't know, I was like in high school or something. And my parents brought me home a gift, and like me and my sister and all that. And I was like, dude, like I didn't expect that. So for that, I just want to say, if you're a father out there and you're listening to this, or a mother, like never underestimate the power of your presence and the power of your intentionality. And secondly, because I did, I mean, my whole life, I've never really had like a good experience with the Valentine's Day. So I remember just being in the church. I was like, okay, like I'm going to turn this memory around. And so then I've stopped doing it recently for, I don't know, but usually it's the Lord that reminds me. But for a few years, what I was doing is I was getting gifts for other single girls, because I'm like, okay, like if I'm feeling like this, they're also feeling like this possibly. So I would get a word from the Lord and I would just like write that for them. And so I did that for a couple years with a little bit of candy, something small, nothing crazy, even for the teenage girls, because I think it's really important. Yeah. And I actually I was just remembering this a few weeks ago, and I'm like, wow, Lord, like you were really projecting this whole in the Vine dating thing, because I had like 2 singles events for girls. Well, earlier on in my days, I forgot what I called them, but they came out of that scripture in Songs of Solomon, where it says to not awaken love until the time is right. And so I remember I had like 2 different events where it was just like all single ladies, because again, as we discussed in the last episode, it's not about waiting for the right time, but it's about making the time that you're in the right time.
Yeah.
And so, so I'm glad that you said that, because it's true. I'm like, the Lord, if you're willing, the Lord can use anything, any day for a good thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. And last episode we talked a lot about seasons, and like we really honed in on that. So it's just a matter of the season that you're in. And I remember when we were roommates, we had our Valentine's Day. That was so much fun.
Yes.
A memory popped up on that recently, and we're literally we're watching what was it, Married at First Sight?
Premarital counseling.
We invited some of the other single girls in our church, and we were watching Married at First Sight. We were eating snacks and just in our pajamas watching.
It was the best.
It was the best, and I love that. And so it's a matter of making the most of it. It goes back to what you said last episode of, if you're feeling jealous of somebody, it's because you're not content with where you're at.
Yes.
And so look for things to do with where you're at in the season that you're at.
Yeah. And one of the other things too, I actually, just to piggyback off on what you said, Melissa, when I was single, and I had a group of, I used to call them my wolf pack, of my single friends, I did the same thing. I hosted because they were, single or anyway, so I would host them and I would do the same thing. I would cook for them. I would treat them to a nice Valentine's. I would write, me, I've always been like a writing also, like words of affirmation. I would get little heart post-its, the ones that they have like at the Dollar Tree, and I would write messages like individual for them. And they were really appreciative of that.
Yeah.
And another thing that you touched on was for your kids, like fathers for your daughters. And I really want to share this story because my girls love Valentine's. They look forward to Valentine's because my husband and I have created to where my husband dates them. And so just this week, we went into the store, they saw Valentine's. They're like, oh my gosh, we can't wait, Mom. We can't wait for Daddy to take us out and for you to, decorate the house and give us our favorite food so we can sit down with Daddy, and Daddy gives them flowers and gives them presents, and he, dresses up in a suit, and they dress up in their dresses, and they love the process. Like they want it, and so I think that is very important because you're really teaching your little girls, right, how they should be treated. And if you have a son, you're teaching them how they should be treating, women.
Yeah.
And another thing that I want to add is, one thing that I've learned in life is if you're not accepted at somebody's table, create your own.
Yes.
I love that you said that about Mike being a dad to his girls. 'Cause I know Valentine's Day when my dad would, same thing, he would take us on dates and he would get us like stuffed animals and like cards, and like it's a holiday of love. So it doesn't have to be just a holiday, or it's not technically a holiday, I guess. Some people are going to get upset about that. But it's a day to recognize love. It doesn't have to be in a romantic sense. It could be with your daughters, especially fathers. If you're a father listening to this, give your daughter like a recognition, like a chocolates, and just let her recognize that you love her. That's such a and I'm talking, like any parent to any kid, but especially a father to a daughter. Yeah. It's so big. I still have one of my favorite stuffed animals is a big heart teddy bear that my dad gave me for Valentine's Day when I was a teenager. I still have that. I still look at that. Like, it means a lot. So absolutely. In that sense, when growing up and even now, I look forward to the gifts that my parents provide. And now I'm starting to get into that part where I'm like, maybe I should give them gift too. Because I love them too, So it's a day to celebrate love.
It is.
So identify the people that you love.
Yeah.
I love that.
It really is what you decide to make of it. All right. I love that. I didn't expect us to fully go down that road as always. We just catch ourselves off guard.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of it, and I am so excited to share this reel with you guys. So a little bit of context. It is a pastor. He's in the middle of a sermon, and he starts talking about people being single. And so why waste my breath? Let me just play this for you guys.
Just play that one. It's a good clip.
Let me play this for you guys. That's not what I need. That's not what I need. Here it is. Okay. Brace yourselves, you guys.
It's your fault.
Okay, he said, if you're single, it's your fault. Let me restart it.
Who's single? It's your fault. It's your fault. A woman should just shut up and look cute and nod your head. It's your fault. Who want me to critique them right now on the spot?
Oof.
You do it. Come here, right here. Come right here. Come right here. Now she said she gonna do this, didn't she? Did I call her out? Did she come on herself? All right, so you need to lose weight. Find a good bra. You need to go to Intimates. It's called Intimates. I took my wife. My wife knew nothing about anything. My wife knew nothing because she came from a family who didn't know anything about anything. I took my wife to a place that we don't buy bras at Victoria, not black women that got large breasts. So you need to get your bra made. And it's not that expensive. No, baby, you get a good bra, it's almost like having a breast lift. Who's single? It's your fault.
Yeah, so the woman that came up, first of all, joke's on her. I don't know why she did that to herself. But she's a heavier woman, and she's like full figured and all that stuff. So just so you guys, for our listeners out there. So, hot take.
Jesse's face.
Yeah, Jesse's face says it all, but what do you think?
I can't believe he's even talking about a woman like that
Yeah.
in general. Whether even more that he's a pastor, but like the fact that he's commenting on somebody, like if I was his wife, first of all, you don't talk to my homegirl like that.
I'm saying.
That's just honestly really embarrassing. I'm shocked. I'm so sad for her too, because she will find a man the way she is, with her curves, with her Victoria's Secret bra, wherever she wants to buy her bras at.
I'm saying, first of all, like,
DD's, TJ Maxx, like she does not need to be told by a man that's married already.
That's
Like,
crazy.
It's just weird.
yeah, that's absolutely.
It was really
insane.
cringe.
Could you imagine a coworker or your boss in any way talking to you like that? They would be reported for sexual harassment, and rightfully so. You don't comment on a woman's body and then her underwear that she wears and where she shops.
That's so weird. Yeah.
That was, it's when I first started watching the video, I was just like, all right, this guy's a hardcore pastor, all right? We like hardcore.
We don't shy away
pastor.
from
we don't shy away from it being hardcore and honest. And so he started out, and a woman should look cute and shut up. And I was just like, all right, maybe he's just weirdly sarcastic. I don't agree with it, but maybe he's just sarcastic and it came out wrong, And I was like, all right. He pulled her up, and I'm thinking, oh, this woman's going to get a prophetic word, a powerful prophetic word from the Lord. And then he starts talking about that, and I was like,
First thing he says is you should lose weight.
Yeah, first of all.
Homegirl hasn't even finished walking
and
up.
he's not saying it from a health standpoint. He's not saying it from, for her betterment. What that video translates into and what he's saying to that woman is, you're single because you're not causing enough men to lust after you.
Preach it, girl.
That's what he's saying. He's saying you're not dressing in a way and you don't have the body type to allow men to lust after you. That's why you're single. I posted scripture on that video, by the way.
I saw it and I was going to go back up, but I was like, sleep.
Go like it.
Yeah, go like
That
it.
was it. I just posted scripture. I was like,
I'm gonna go comment on it. You guys sent it in the Vine, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go comment on it. Shakay 2024. Shakay 2024.
What do you think, Denise?
crazy.
Oh, I don't necessarily disagree with what he said, to be honest.
Okay.
I disagree with the way, time and place, right? Because if you've been in marriage counseling, you might have heard something along those lines, obviously in a private setting. So time and place, for sure. I don't think he should have called her out the way that he did, obviously, in public. But at the same time, she raised her hand. So it's like you subjected yourself to that. So we can't be mad at him for, we can, right? But to feel, she kind of knew what was going to happen. I'm sure she's been in that church. I'm sure she knows that her pastor is hardcore, right?
Yeah.
So if you volunteer to subject yourself to that, like, that's on you. It's still like you said, cringeworthy, right? But do I think people need to take care of themselves? Yes. One of the things that I know as a wife is that I'm always going to want to look good for my husband.
Yeah.
Period. Like, do I have my days? Yeah. I have kids, you know what I mean? But, one of the things that we're always taught is, when you get married, and obviously if she meets somebody at the weight that she is and whatnot, then the expectation is that, like, you married that, like, that's what you have, you know what I mean? So if one of the, and I know this is going to be controversial, but screw it, right?
Hot takes.
One of the things that my husband was really adamant about is, I don't want you to lose yourself when you get married, because I've seen in my family how women lose themselves. Like, they have kids, they gain weight, they don't take care of themselves, they don't, there's no intention. And so that's why I work out. Like, that's why I'm always trying to look, presentable. I'm not, and I'm, like I said, I'm not at home. I'm not always putting on makeup. Like, I'm in my robe. You know what I mean? But
with our messy bun.
I'm a messy bun. You know what I mean? So do I think that we should look presentable? Absolutely. If we're not attracting a mate, should we always look to ourselves and see what can I do different? Absolutely.
Right.
And that's not just an outward appearance, that's also inward appearance.
Right.
So that is why I disagree with the way he said it,
it's a
I think it's deliverance, absolutely, because I've heard A-Rod behind the pulpit say, women, like, take care of yourselves, like, look good, like, I think it's the way that it's not what he said, it's how he said it, right? So I think that's,
and what do you focus on? Because, you could have avoided the whole, like, breasting.
Or if his wife is the one that, like you mentioned, premarital counseling.
Right.
Like, if she was with a man and this man actually made a concern and said, I do feel like I would want you to take care of yourself
Right.
more.
Yeah.
Or
you
even
know,
if she were to, like go to the pastors in a private setting.
yes,
Absolutely.
and then the
And
wife is the one that
wife
says
is the
it.
one that tells her, hey, you know
Yeah.
what, honey, let's dress you up a little
Yeah,
bit more.
hey,
you know?
let's go to the mall together.
But
I know
yeah.
this exact place that my husband took me. It's going to be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
but I
I'm
think
not
it's
against a woman.
inappropriate that he said it to her.
Yeah, women and men definitely should do their best to present their best self forward, whether
Yeah.
you're looking for a spouse or not. That's
Yeah.
just as a healthy mindset to have. Is I want to be the best I can be,
Of course.
despite who it may or may not attract. You know what I mean? And that's just healthy to have in general. And to want to look good for the person that you're with in a relationship is also very, very healthy
Right.
mindset to have in a relationship. So again, if she's walking up to her pastor going, all right, critique me,
Yes.
and that's his immediate like, all right,
But
you
that's
gotta
kind
lose
of
weight,
what
you
she
gotta do this.
did, though.
Yeah.
That is what she
are right,
did.
yeah.
Like, she raised her hand and said, put me on the
I
spot.
think for me though, like
Because
I'm
he
gonna
did
take
say
it very-
that.
Yeah.
Like, did I?
Did I call? Yeah.
but,
I think for me though, I would like walk up and probably assume like some prophetic word of like
Oh,
some
Yeah,
overwhelming
you need to
prophetic.
work-
I would have like
work on your health.
Exactly.
Shakay right
like-
away walks up with her
Like,
eyes
yeah,
closed.
I'm just like, all right, tell me why I'm single, right? And then he's like, I would be expecting like, you know, the Lord's really telling me that you need to start putting into practice this, or the, you know, like
Link up with my wife.
yeah, exactly. Like
she
maybe
has some
you know,
good comments for
right?
you,
But
yeah.
that was just like the delivery on that.
Yeah.
The man commenting on another woman's breast was what bothered me, to be
and then
honest.
the detail, like, it's not
The
that
detail-
expensive.
Yeah,
It's
go
not
to
that
this particular.
Pay for a dog.
Yeah, go to this
Sponsor
particular
it then.
lingerie store and get a bra that's this. It's like
So I have a question. If it was a female pastor
different.
that said that, would you guys feel differently?
I would.
a good question.
I would.
Yeah.
I would feel like, that girl raised her hand, but homegirl trying to help her out. She's telling her about a deal. But since it's a guy, I do think it's very inappropriate. Like, because he's married. You know, I would think of it as on his wife's side also. Like, why is because he had a look. Like, why are you going to
Because
that
men are
extent?
visual, men look.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, why are you going to that extent? You're in front of the congregation. Like, you're going on social media. Like,
Yeah.
I would just look at that. I
I
don't
like this. I do.
yeah.
I feel some triggers.
Thank you for bringing the controversy. Like, no, I like
it's-
it. No, I love it.
I
but-
think because I've been mentored in a marriage setting from some people that are very hardcore,
Oh, yeah.
that I mean, like I said, I still cringed when I heard it, but we have to be honest. And I think we live in such a society where everybody's always triggered,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where we can't be honest, and that's the reason we're in the place that we're hot mess that we're in, because we can't say what we like just as it is. We have to let's sugarcoat it, let's do the Oreo, let's make sure that we're being sensitive to everybody's feelings. And at the end of the day, the guy's just like trying to get her a man. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
spitting. And I don't know, but
No, it's true. I remember sitting with, because again, Pilin is
My parents are
savage.
hardcore.
yeah.
I remember sitting with, I'm looking straight into the camera right now because I want you to see the pain in my eyes. I remember sitting with Pilin and I was like, Pilin, this and this is the kind of man I hope to attract. Like, sorry, I'm just laughing because I don't want to cry. And I was like, you know, this and this and that. And she was like, and I think I just left the gym. And so I was looking real raggedy, okay? And she's like, okay. She's like, okay, that's totally fair. If that man were to walk into this place right now, do you think he would even look at you? It's like, no. And so that changed the trajectory of my life. I just want you guys to know. But no, it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it was a delivery that this
For
man
sure.
is absolutely.
Right.
I
And we're
think-
seeing one small clip. We don't know who
Right.
this pastor is as a whole. We're not
Right.
seeing the whole message. We're, you know, so you're absolutely
Right.
right. And it's like, how long has she been going to the church? And she
Right.
if she's a normal, you know, member, she
Right.
knows that.
I mean, she was front
like-
row, so she's
Yeah, she's been going.
I think, like I said, to me, it's not, I'm not even, the thing that I cringed was just the way he said it, for
Yeah.
sure. Like that, I agree with. I agree with completely with
For
that.
me, it was just his wife. Come on, girl.
Yeah,
Like, go
you're
out
thinking
there.
about yeah.
If
There's
you
so
just
many
did
different
it,
like
yeah.
There's so many different avenues he could have taken to
Just-
present that message. in a
Just link up with my wife. She'll
way.
take you to the mom.
Yeah.
Trust
Yeah.
me. That's it.
But I think it just like going back to what you said, branching off of that, of like my parents do talk about a lot, and my parents do a lot of the counseling here for married couples is, and for dating couples is, you are what you attract.
Yeah.
You know, and it's about taking responsibility for yourself. And so one of the practices that I think is my mom, one of my parents, both of them, had me do was like, imagine the man that you want. Imagine like his character, what you want, values, all that. He's standing right there. Now imagine the woman that he deserves. And are you that woman? And so it just goes back to taking responsibility for yourself of like, I can imagine this perfect guy, right? Like I can imagine, you know, tall, buff, you know, good looking, good style, all of this stuff, right? And I'm like, I want that as I'm sitting in my messy bun and going out in my Walmart sweats and
with
slippers,
your cat on your arm,
with my cat on my arm,
with your little hat.
like, that's what I want, you know, with my little hands on.
Yeah, we all look at that show, New Girl, and think life is like that. Life is not
like
it's
that.
not
I don't
so
wake up
traditional.
with my makeup on.
I mean, like, not everybody's into that cutie, like, you know.
Yeah, and so it's when they put that into my mind, and that's something I think about constantly. Is I can dream up the perfect man. That's easy to do, but can I be what that man deserves? If you want a man who's, you know, let's think of some good examples. Works and provides for the family, is fit and conscious about his health, is conscious about his style and making sure that he presents himself well to you know, community members and church members and whatever it is, right? Are you that woman who can meet those standards? Are you willing to be on the opposite, a stay-at-home mom? If you want him to provide for the family, are you willing to be a stay-at-home mom?
Yeah.
Are you willing to be that kind of stay-at-home wife who also is concerned about her style, her health, looking good, and presenting herself and her children as a good example to the community?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of women that I know would get offended with what I'm saying.
Right.
But they still aren't willing to take away the image of the perfect man.
Yes.
Go for it.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was just going to share an experience. Okay, so I worked at Sephora for many years and I did a lot of makeup. And one of the things that really pissed me off is that guys would come with their girl, right? And she already seems insecure. And they're beautiful, right, in their own way.
Yeah.
But he'd bring me a picture of Kim K and said, make her look like that. I'm serious. And so I'm like, he's like, I want natural makeup on her, like that. And sometimes
And then
these
you
girls
sit in the chair next
got
to her, and
natural
I'll turn
makeup
you into
money?
Tom.
Yeah, right?
So the guy sits there, right? And I do her makeup. And sometimes these girls already have their own look on their makeup and they're feeling their own self. But they're like, he just wants me to look natural like Kim K. And I'm like, homeboy, you know how many layers of makeup she has on? This seems natural to you, but she has contour. She has concealer. Like, I explain all this to the guys because they don't see that. And they're like, nah, but she just looks natural. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I could do her makeup like that. And when they saw the amount of makeup I used
To make a natural look.
to make that natural look, she looked great. Not gonna lie, she looked amazing, right? And she even enjoyed the whole look. And she's like, wow, I don't look cakey. Like, I love this. What did you use on me? She's getting so excited too. And she feels confident because at the whole time I'm saying, like, you don't need it. Like, you don't need makeup, just so you know. Because I'm already knowing, like, this guy's like, I mean, the fact that he came with a picture and told
crazy.
somebody, like, that's kind of messed up. But I promise you, it wasn't once, it wasn't twice. It was maybe like 3 times a week. And it was always Kim K. Yeah. Oh my God. I know. And so then I would purposely like show the guy all the makeup and I wouldn't get extra makeup. I would just get exactly what I know would help that person and their skin type, right? When he sees the amount of makeup, I'm like, you're going to buy this, right? Because you're the one that wants her to look like that. And then I would just kind of like laugh, right? Because like with my attitude, like they would just laugh. And they're like, well, why does she need primer? And I said, you paint houses, or have you ever painted a house? Yeah. Have you ever painted a house without primer? Oh, no, because it's going to be jacked up. Exactly. Why would you want your girl without primer? And then they start adding the cost. I kid you not. It's almost going to $300, right? Because it's not only skincare, it's everything. And they're like, nah, can you just give me what she needs? And I was like, she really doesn't need anything. I was like, but this is what you want her to look like, so this is how much it's going to cost. And the girl, she's feeling herself, putting on her lipstick. She's like, yeah, you're going to buy it, right? And sometimes they do walk out with the bag full of makeup and the girl's happy and she's like, thank you for looking out for me. But sometimes the guy doesn't. And he's like, no. And he's like, are you going to do the other half of her face? Because like they're going to go out or something. And he wants to show her off. And it's just kind of sad to see that also, because you do want to be what the other person wants to an extent. But you also want to make sure that that person that you're with will love you the way that you want to present yourself to. Because if you're just going to say, I don't choose to do my makeup like that, that's not me. And you're okay with how do I say, you're okay finding someone that accepts you that way, and if the person that you're with doesn't, like, you're okay with leaving them because they don't accept you that way, I think that's okay too. You know, it's valid. So I think whoever you want to be attracting to, like, attract them, obviously, do your best. And yeah, I agree. Girl, like, I got my makeup done. My husband right now is like, you look so good. Like, yeah, I'm going to go home and I'm going to be like, look at my makeup. But I love to look great for my husband. But I did see it on the other end, like how toxic it could be. Like men putting these standards on women when it's like, dude, she's beautiful the way she is. Why are you trying to compare her to somebody else?
Yeah. And I think that's why we emphasize so much that before you go in a relationship, know who you are, know your values, and really work on yourself and identifying your standards for what you want for you and your relationship with God. And really, that's why we emphasize that so much, is before you enter a dating relationship, if you go into a dating relationship broken, you're going to bring that brokenness into your relationship, and that person that you're dating is more than likely going to prey on that brokenness. And sometimes you find people who help you heal, but don't gamble that, right? Like, just heal before you go into a relationship. If there's insecurities in you that you have that you know you need to deal with, get friends, get mentors, and above all, really seek the Lord and just soak in prayer and read his word and know what God says about you. Because if you're dating a guy who comes up and says, I want you to look like this, you have two kinds of responses. You have, oh my gosh, I really like the way that she looks. I would love to apply that and do that. And I think that's fine.
And make it my own way.
And make it my own way. And I would love to, like, I would love to do that. Like, but it's a place of joy and knowing that she's already confident enough and already secure enough to know that that's going to work for me. Yeah. And then, but then there's going to be women who go, well, I don't really want that. That's not really what I want. I don't want to have to spend money on makeup like that or take time like that. I don't really feel comfortable trying to achieve that look. Who will either A, in their confidence go, this isn't going to work for me, or B, let themselves be prey to that mindset of a man. You know what I mean?
So I want to bring in like a different perspective, because I think there can also be a really beautiful side in honoring one another with your beauty and how the Lord has made you. And the reason for that is because I remember there's a story in the Bible where they were building the temple. And it says that the women, what they gave was their mirrors in order to be able to build the temple. And so in the temple, what that meant, it was on the outside, so it would reflect the glory of the Lord. And so there's a story that comes that I wish I knew the exact citation. It's probably Leviticus, because that's when they were building the temple, if I'm not mistaken. But don't come at me. But anyway, it says that those mirrors, right? If you guys know the Bible, it states that the Israelites were oppressed for 400 years. And so then the men would go out and do this crazy slave labor. They would be ridiculed by the Egyptians. They would be ridiculed by, just people that wouldn't honor them as God's chosen people. And so it said that the only way that the women knew how to not just bring value to their men, but also strengthen their people, it was by fixing themselves up and making themselves beautiful, so that when their husbands came home from being ridiculed for being, being beat up by the world, they would come home to a woman that would reflect the beauty of the Lord. And so those same mirrors that they would use in order to get ready was the same mirrors that they used to build the temple. So not only were they reflecting their beauty to their husbands in order to be able to entice them and attract them, and that's how their population increased, which is really why they went into oppression, but that's what brought about their deliverance. That beauty and that reflection and that honor, right? We're bringing it back to honor for their husbands. It's what made them strong as a people and really brought their deliverance. And so, maybe when you get married, again, controversial to people that don't know the word, but your body becomes theirs and their body becomes yours.
Thank you.
So if they want you with short hair and you like long hair, I'm sorry, you said yes to all of that.
Yes.
And that's something that you have to sacrifice. That's something that you have to be okay with. If they want you to lose 5, 10, 20 pounds, then you got to do it. And of course, like, the person that wants you to do that, whether it be the wife or the husband, then it comes out of a place of, like, I want to honor them so badly that when they come home, I want them to be reminded just how much I freaking love them. And so it comes down to the home cooked meal. It comes down to having a clean home. And of course, there's not perfection in that. Like, there's times where you're going to miss it. And there's seasons where, you guys are busy, so you have to eat out all the time. Like, I get that 100%. But there's such a power. And of course, the mainstream media has come and has robbed that, where it's like, oh, if they tell you how you need to look and blah, 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 then, you know, you need to cut that person out. Like, no, but when you're really in a relationship with somebody that's healed, whether they're asking out of a place of vanity or out of a place because they love you, like, you have to understand that you chose to submit and you chose to honor one another, not through emotion, but through duty. And so there's times where I show up at church and I don't want to look good. I want to roll out of bed all the time. So it's like, if I want to look good for church, why wouldn't I want to look good for my husband when I don't feel like it? Like, and so we're able to do that for work, right? When we know we have to show up to work presentable. Why wouldn't you want to do that with somebody that you're dating, with somebody that you're married with? And so, you know, like we're able to do it for these things that, like that we get compensated for. But when it comes to relationships like that, then all of a sudden our barriers come up. But you're already playing yourself, like, because now you're building walls up. Now you're telling your person, oh, you're not worthy enough for that. So then they're not going to trust you with their heart. And so, you know, we've talked about this before. We're the glory of Christ, right? Like, we're the bride of Christ. And so we define his glory. We portray his glory. And so as a woman, like, if my man wants me to look good, then okay, like, I'll be more than happy to do that because you want to be proud of me. You know
And
what
if you're
I mean?
paying for it,
Yeah. Well, it doesn't even have to do that. Like, it does, like, I don't want to focus so much on the monetary thing because not everybody's going to be financially well off. Not everybody's going to be, like, if you're getting your makeup at like from drugstores, like, girl, you take that and you do your best, because sometimes, like, what is the honor is the effort.
Yes.
Yep.
That is the honor. It's not the final result. Like, obviously, yeah, like, you want to look bomb and stuff, but it's the honor. It's like, hey, you know what? Like, we don't have that much money. Like, I can't drop hundreds of dollars on freaking MAC makeup or whatever. But I went out and I got this, like, and build upon that, right?
Dollar Tree has bomb dollar eyelashes,
like,
by the way.
Yeah, like, it's not one or all. Like, it is a process. And the more that you love each other, like at work, like, when I want to show up and I want to look good and I want to get a promotion, like, I'm going to show up. Even my boss is like, yo, like, what? Like, what's happening? What did I miss here? And so that's what it is. Like, you know, it goes back to that social media crap.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you have to one up one another. And it's like, dude, like, in a relationship, it's not like, oh, he told me to do that. Like, oh, hell no, like, you better be doing this. It's not that at all.
Then you're missing the point of marriage.
Thank you.
Because marriage is all about servanthood. And at the end of the day, one thing Linda always tells me is, if he's not going to change, what are you going to do different? And I'm going to have to go before the Lord. I'm not going to have to give an account of what my husband did or didn't do. I have to give an account of what I did. So that, I think, is, we live in such a society where everything is so selfish. And there's this doctor, and I don't really share, I'm not going to say her name because she's very controversial. Like, not even people in the church would be able to handle her. And the way that she gives advice for marriage, like, nowadays, you would think that she's, like, abusive. You know what I mean? Just because of the things that she says. But even if we're going back to the basics, like, that's what marriage is. Marriage is servanthood. Now, obviously, if you're a boyfriend, girlfriend, like, that's a different arena, you know?
Yeah, because
like,
you said you used to have time. That's what I was saying. Like, these
you
people,
still have time. You know what I mean? Like, that's your time to figure out if that's really what you want or not. But definitely when you're married, like, it is servanthood. It is, if my husband wants my hair short, okay, my hair is short. And it's not, and it's and one thing that I love about my husband, and I can only speak for mine, is when there's an expectation, he creates an environment for me.
That's good.
And that's important. Now, even if he did not, I would still have to do my part, because I'm going to have to go before the Lord and say, and God's going to ask me, well, your husband asked you of this. Did you do it? I can't say, well, he did. And it's like Adam and Eve, right? Well, the man you gave me, he's not going to care about that. He's going to say, what did you do with it? And so I think one of the things that I'm always making sure is, I have to make sure that I can go before the Lord in full transparency and say, I did all that I could do. And if nothing else, like, I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
So, and I love the way you put it.
That was beautiful, the way you put it.
I love that story. Pastor Adriana taught on that, and then I had to she taught on that like years ago, and I had to I actually looked it up for the last season, but the opportunity never came up, because to me that is so insightful, because obviously, beautiful. You know, like how we talk about we're married to God first.
Right.
And so to me, I try to do that with the Lord. It's like, okay, how am I exemplifying your glory, right? Like, how am I reflecting you? And to me, it's just more powerful. And you know what's crazy about that story? That Moses objected to having the mirrors and to build the temple, because he thought it was pagan. He thought it was like very vain. He thought it was vain. But then the Lord was like, no, like you let them bring that in because it brought in that story of God and his bride.
Right.
Right? Where it's like, no, it was a time where the woman used their beauty, their glory in order to be able to bring
Esther
value
did
to a
that.
man. Exactly. We see that all over the Bible.
Everywhere.
All over the
Yeah.
Bible, where it's like, you know, the gifts that you've been given, like who you are as a person. Yeah, the world may say you're not the Kim Kardashian. The world may say you're not this, you don't look like that. But again, and I absolutely agree with what you were saying. It's like the person that you're dating, if they don't make you feel like that when you're ugly, then, you know, red flag, definitely run. But when you've decided to make a commitment and you've decided to be like, okay, this is a person that I'm either going to marry or that I'm already married to, then how am I going to glorify him? How am I going to lift him up, right? Because Proverbs 31 woman, you give your man bragging rights where he's at the gate and the people at the gate. That means that people that are making decisions, like what we would know now as city council, right?
City leaders.
Leaders, they're bragging about you because of the glory that your wife brings. And so even men, like, think about that too. Like when you're courting somebody and when you're choosing somebody, like how are they showing up for you? Like how are they presenting themselves well? And then you have the decision to make. One, are you going to communicate your desire or are you going to dip? Like if your guys are just dating, then you have full authority to do that. But you're never going to get anywhere if you don't communicate, right? And I remember, I'm sorry, because this revelation was so hot fire and it just came to me because I was talking with my friend on Thursday and he was like, no, like I have to be with somebody that just like dropped it and blah, blah, blah. And that was like his first like
Non-negotiable.
Yeah, non-negotiable. And I was like, okay, because I know this person, whatever, and he's great, he's awesome. But I was like, I started thinking, I'm like, okay, like, you know, I started thinking about Jesus. And Isaiah 53 says that Jesus was not handsome, okay? Contrary to belief, he's not handsome. And so now, though, we hear after the cross and after everything, in Revelation, it talks about his beauty. It talks about how he's so, I'm going to cry. It talks about how glorious he is, how wonderful he is, how high and lifted up he is. And I was like, wow, like, and not only do we see him as beautiful, because even sinners now, right, they look at Jesus and they look at him with disdain. But what causes us to love him and consider him to be beautiful is the sacrifice that he did for us, right? And so it's the sacrifice, it's getting to know him, it's understanding his love, understanding who he is that makes him beautiful. And so, you know, the person that you're with or the person that you're probably attracted to at an emotional, physical, or spiritual level may not be physically insane where it's like she can match up with the Kim Kardashians, but it's the sacrifice that both of you guys give that will bring beauty to that relationship.
Yeah.
And are you going to look at that person, and especially if you're Christians, like you're going to be looking at him through the sacrifice of Christ. And so to me, that was so crazy because literally people looked at Jesus as if he was a cursed man. And so people may look at, people are not always going to understand your relationship. People are going to look at your spouse, and they're going to be like, yo, like I would have never gone with that girl, I would have never gone with that man. But at the end of the day, only you know the sacrifice. Again, with Jesus, only you know what he brought you out of, and that's why you're so devoted to him. So that's what it's going to be with your wife. Look, you may have the hottest wife, but if she has a car accident tomorrow and her face is all destroyed, like, what are you going to do then?
Right.
She's not going to bring you a glory and physical attraction, but she's going to bring you glory because of her ability to be able to overcome obstacles. And that's what we keep freaking pounding. We finished the last season where it's like life is but a vapor. And you just talked about it last episode. Life is but a breath. Like we got to put weight into eternity. And what happens is we're making decisions on spouses and dating based on temporary feelings and temporary emotions, temporary treasures. When at the end of the day, look, like, once both of you are dead, once both of you are gone, nobody remembers you, your tombstones are up and everything, what's going to matter is your legacy. Yeah. What is your legacy? It's going to be your children. It's going to be what you did for the Lord. It's going to be the kind of home that you made in order to be able to bring other people into that. And so when you choose somebody, yeah, absolutely, attraction is amazing. But I guarantee you that the moment that you start seeing people's hearts and people's devotion and all of that beautiful stuff, that's what's going to bring in the legacy. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It was all three of them, and now people still call on the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And so they don't talk about their appearances. They don't talk about any of these things. They talk about their heart towards the Lord. And so, I'm sorry, I got that revelation on Thursday, and I was like, God, like, you're hot fire, you're amazing. You should talk to me more often.
It's so awesome. You know, I just finished reading the patriarchs too, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And even going back to, like, the relationship aspect, you know, there's no one story that's the same in just focusing on the dating part, right?
Yeah.
There's no one story that's the same when it comes to being in a dating relationship, even biblically.
Yeah.
How each of them found their brides was totally different.
Right.
Every Bible story that talks about a man and a woman meeting is completely different.
Yeah.
And I remember saying on another video that we'll probably bring up another time.
Another time,
No, there is no one size fits all for finding
Right.
your spouse. And so, because what you both just brought up is so true and something that really needs to be like pounded in the minds of every individual, every single person, is if you want to have a successful dating relationship into marriage, you need to first understand the weight of marriage.
Yeah.
You need to understand that marriage is a mirror of God and his church. A man is to serve a woman, and the woman is served a man. It is about service, as you were saying.
Sacrifice,
And if you can understand the weight of marriage, the holy calling of marriage, and that it is a holy institution established by God, the very first thing that he established between a man and a woman was joining them together as man and wife. We have Adam and Eve, and there was immediately commands on how they were to serve each other. Eve was brought in to be a helper. And so when you can understand the true weight, the true holiness, the true beauty of marriage, then you can start entering into a healthier mindset of what your dating relationship should look like.
Yeah.
Because as you said, if your husband or if your wife wants a certain look, as a serving attitude and as recognition that this is what is that scripture? Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. You are one unit. God designed you. The moment you say I do at that altar is the moment you become one. So what you want that husband, what you want your wife to look like is completely, you're responsible to that.
Right.
And so when you're in a dating relationship, though, that's when you have to be mindful of those things.
Yeah.
Am I going to, I want that Kardashian
Am
look,
I
or do
willing to
am
wear
I
fake
willing?
lashes every day?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And establishing that early on and understanding that early on in your dating relationship. Because if you're not willing to do that, and if it's not going to make you happy to be Kim Kardashian the rest of your marriage, that's what you need to communicate right away within your dating relationship. Because if you enter into a covenant agreement with this person, with those standards, you are responsible for maintaining those standards.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
And I was gonna also say a lot of these guys, like what they project on these girls is because they are addicted to this.
Yes.
Like pornography and
Yes.
everything. Like why do they want somebody to look like Kim K? You know?
Yeah.
And because they see her a certain way, they lust after her. So they want that, you know? And it's really sad because again, porn does affect a lot of like relationships, right? And they project that, and that's not fair for the wife either, because now she has to compete with that.
Right.
And I did want to touch on this. Only because I've seen it so many times, and I've honestly like gone to the break room crying, like because I'm heartbroken, because I've seen a lot of abuse even during makeup sessions, you know? And sometimes I've had to cover black eyes, and the abuser was right behind me. It's just crazy. So with all that being said, is if a woman is, if you have a wife and you know she's the most confident wearing this or looking like this, embrace that, because confidence is key, right?
Yeah.
What is the most biggest attraction? I think it's number one is confidence, because I know that's what women attract in men, right? And then men attract that in women, because that's the first thing like people see. Like if you walk like this, you swear like you're gonna probably attract somebody like this, you know. So just keep that in mind. Like, and I'm only gonna say this for myself, because I know my husband one time requested me not to wear glitter for an event, and I feel so confident wearing glitter. Like that's my thing. Like I love it. Like I feel no one can touch me. Like I just feel like anything can go with it. And he's like, I just don't want you to wear glitter at this event. And I was like, okay, yeah, like that's fine, but I just feel really confident wearing it. And he's like, I didn't know that. And I said, yeah, I feel, and then I explained to him how I feel when I wear it. And he's like, I like that then. You could wear it. Like, that's fine. And every time I wear it, he's like, you're feeling yourself, huh? And I'm like, yeah. But I just want to say, like, that's me adding something to myself. But if you don't want to add that extra layer of like lashes or like whatever it is, but you feel confident, just maybe like for myself, like I explained it to my husband and why it makes me feel confident. And so you explaining it to him, like you guys can have that compromise. Like, you know what? Like, I think you're beautiful that way. Now that I know that that makes you confident, like I'm so attracted to that.
Yeah.
Because I think it can be resentful too. Like, yes, you make that sacrifice. Yes, you do it. And at the end of the day, it's not what, you know, like what they do to you, but it's what, you know, you do.
Yeah.
But you also want to make sure that you're confident you feel confident. Like, you don't want to feel like, oh my gosh, like all the time. Like that just would break my heart that someone would walk around like that and not feeling like confident. At least talk to that other spouse and like say, okay, I feel confident when I wear this and I rock it like this because it's my thing. And if they're okay with it, like, okay, let's work with it. But if they're not okay with it and you kind of compromise, like, okay, I'll do this on the weekends when we go out or something, and like you guys can come to a compromise, I think that's great. When I think it's like pushed on you and like you have to look this way and you don't feel confident and you feel like dirt, I feel like, at least myself, like I've seen that, like heartbreak in people. And as an empathetic person that God created me to be, like I can't even stay in the room with them. Like I'm like crying for them, like constantly. It's just crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And I just thought of this one lady when I was talking about this. And she had told me she was a stripper. And she was abused. And I think it was her pimp behind me. And she was just explaining to me like how she was heartbroken, whatever. But then she told me, she's like, he's my husband. We just got married like 2 weeks ago. And she was saying he wants me to look like this other girl who she died, but it was his other like his other girl, you know? And he had a picture and he's like, I want her to look like that. And the minute that he had her look like that, it was just making me remember like guys do project like whatever fetish they have. Like, you know, anime or whatever they have. Like, I just think it comes from a deeper thing. Like, if it comes from a loving heart, like, I want my wife to look good. I want you to be healthy. I want you to live a long life. I want you to look good because you represent me. I look good for you. You look good for me. I think that's healthy. I think that's great. But when it's a way, like, I'm addicted to anime. Yeah. Like, I want you to look like this anime. Like, I think that's weird.
Yeah, I think it's always a heart issue.
Yes.
Right? Clearly, we're not talking about
Yes.
abuse because clearly, if there is abuse, then there's a whole different issue.
Yeah, we're not talking about your handler.
Right, we're not talking about your handler.
Yes.
And I think that's really important to lay out is that we're not sitting here advocating for abuse. And anytime it becomes a sin issue, then that's where you draw the line.
Mm-hmm.
That's when your authority, submission, obedience no longer is required. When there is a total sin issue, like if your husband's like, oh, go have sexual intercourse with somebody else,
Oh my gosh,
clearly that's a sin issue. Like we're not advocating for that at all. Like foundation is always biblical, right?
Absolutely.
But I think that's why it's so important that our confidence should come from the Lord.
Yes.
Right? And when you exuberate the confidence in the Lord, like that's what happens. Like when you have the confidence in the Lord, like you're confident in not a thing, a materialistic thing, but you're confident in who He is and what He's doing in you. And I think that's also the point that we're trying to make is one, let me make sure that I make it clear that we're never advocating to submit to somebody who's being abusive, who's telling you, who's not falling in line with the biblical principles, right? As long as it's not a sin issue, the Bible asks or requires you to submit.
Yes.
Once it becomes a sin issue, then you are now not obligated to submit to that.
Yes.
And so that's like, I think, first and foremost clear. I think the main thing that we were obviously wanted to touch, or not touch on, but we're highlighting is we live in such a society where the feminist movement is so strong still, the Me Too movement where I don't need a man, I don't need to submit, I don't need to do this, I don't need to do that. And so that's creating a culture of where not people even in the church, it's penetrating to people in the church. Well, if my husband is requiring me not to do this or not to do that, but that's where my confidence, that's okay,
I'm independent
I'm
woman.
independent. Okay, that's nice. But at the end of the day, what does your husband say? Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that for so long, we still undermine, I got this revelation and I shared it with Melissa. And we say Jesus is the groom and the church is the bride, right?
Right.
Did Jesus not rebuke the bride? Did Jesus not speak harshly to the bride? Now, I'm not saying, men, that you're going to sit there and you're going to, be abusive. That's not what it is. But every time Jesus spoke to his bride, it was to bring correction, or it was to bring redemption. It was to bring restoration. It was done from a heart of love because God can only release love because He is love.
Yeah.
So when our husbands come and tell us something like, hey, I would like this instead of that, we take offense. But yet Jesus did that with His bride.
Yeah.
It's true. And, well, can I just share from, because, I'm divorced.
Yeah.
Right. So, as you said, that regardless of whether this person changes or not, what are you going to do? What are you going to be held responsible for? And that was my goal through my whole marriage. And I'm not perfect. I definitely messed up. I had moments where I could have aligned myself better with the Lord, but I aligned myself with my feelings. But what I can say with confidence is that I was not willing to leave my marriage until I walked away with full confidence that I did everything according to the word of God.
Yeah.
I aligned myself with the Lord first, and I was submissive to my husband up until the point of sin.
Exactly.
And I can honestly say that. And I feel confident in saying that. And I really don't want to make it sound like I was oh so perfect.
Right.
I'm not trying to put that out there. I was not oh so perfect. I'm willing to talk more about that in this. We're going to get really controversial in this season
for
too.
Sure.
I know we're coming towards the end of it, so I'll try to make this quick. But I really wanted to, as an example of what you're saying, is I wholeheartedly, as someone who's divorced, I still can say I wholeheartedly, completely agree with everything that you ladies have been saying. Is that yes, we are called to be submissive to our husbands. Yes, when you marry somebody, you are entering into agreement of who that person is. And no, do not go into marriage thinking that this person or I will change my mind. Do not. That is what destroyed my marriage, was that mentality and that thinking, was thinking this will change when I say I do. I will suddenly have accountability, and I will have I no longer have these needs for these addictions in order, the moment I say I do. And that was not the case. And that's what caused my marriage to fail. And so speaking from the perspective of having a divorce, I still can say with full confidence that I agree with everything these ladies are saying in regards to marriage, is that you are called to be submissive to one another. The way that Christ, and if you really want to know what a healthy, godly marriage looks like, read the scripture and understand the sacrifices, the correction, the rebukes, and ultimately the love that Jesus had for his church and the way he expects the church to serve him. That's marriage right there. If you want a godly marriage, do it the way that Jesus did with the church and the church did with Jesus. Women, look at how the church is supposed to serve Jesus. And men, look at how Jesus served the church. And that's marriage. That's the story of marriage. And so I wholeheartedly, completely agree with you ladies. And I know that people who've gone through what I've gone through would completely disagree and maybe have mixed emotions as a result, because they went through something very painful, very hurtful. But because I'm rooted, my knowledge, my understanding, my upbringing is all rooted in biblical understandings. I can say that despite what I've gone through, I still believe the Bible. I still believe the Word of God, and I trust God.
Yeah, I love that you're saying that. And I just want to make sure that we also reiterate that our husbands need to submit to the Lord, right? Like that's the right order. It's that our husbands submit to the Lord, and then we submit to our husbands.
Because we trust them.
Right, because we trust them. Men are very visual. That's also something that I think we need to start talking even in the podcast is men and women are wired so differently, and we have these expectations that we want our men to be mushy and they should understand and da-da-da-da, but it's like God wired them a specific way. Men are hunters. They were designed to hunt, you know what I mean? And women were the hearts, that's what we're meant to do. So I think also understanding that just because men are wired differently doesn't make them wrong. Right? It's kind of like just what we do with our gifts that it's important. So that and I had something else, but I totally forgot. But I just wanted to make sure that we always understand that, it's important for the order. It's important to, this part. That, Jesus only said and did what he saw his Father do. Right? So I think it's also important that when we're talking about submission, we're talking from a place of the husbands are also submitting. So this doesn't the husbands have a harder job. You know what I mean? So the husbands have to...
Because they have to submit and lead simultaneously.
Exactly.
And keep themselves in check. I mean, with God. That's why, that's why we can trust. They want us to do this. Well, because I trust you. I know your heart behind it.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is a hard job for them. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine to be held accountable to God and then lead a family and children.
Yeah, and this was what I was going to say. I love how you said, you know, if people that have been divorced, it's like, how can you trust or believe the Bible? And coming from a relationships of abuse, how can you trust a man? And it's easy to trust a man who trusts in the Lord. Because when you see the fruit of a man who trusts in the Lord, you want to submit because you see the benefit. You see the healing and the victory that it brings into your life and into your family's life.
That's good.
Yes, I completely agree. And I want to reiterate something that we talked about in the last podcast, where it's like, you know, there's so many different voices. And as you've heard, even here, we have the same opinion, but dissenting opinions. And that's because we all have our different perspective, our different identity, different things. But the foundational message is the Bible.
Yeah.
And so we just want to encourage you, like, read the word for yourself. I mean, something that's been crazy to me is right now I'm reading Leviticus. And Leviticus, if you've ever read it, it's a lot of do's and don'ts. If you really take the time to study it, there's so much beauty in it. But what most of us tend to do is kind of just read through it and you're like, okay, I just want to say I read this freaking book already. But what's crazy is that just reading that has actually brought me crazy in-depth revelation of other things. Because at the end of the day, the word is Jesus. Right? So when you read the word, whether you're reading Deuteronomy, whether you're reading genealogy, whether you're reading whatever, like, it does apply. And so I just want to, like, encourage you guys. I do believe that the Lord wants to release a love for his word in this year.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the only way that you're going to keep saying, because there's going to be, especially, I know I'm kind of ranting now, but, you know, with all these campaigns, with all these things that are going to be going on, you really need to know the Holy Spirit. And the way that you learn Holy Spirit and his voice is through the word. There's ample stories in the Bible where it talks about, you know, there's wind, there's earthquakes, there's all these crazy things, but the voice of the Lord was in the still small voice. And so if you're using social media as your church, if you're using these other things as your church, I strongly suggest that you really take some time and just dig into the word. Ask God to reveal himself to you. Ask Holy Spirit to come into your room, into your life, and just ask him to reveal the word to you. And he will. The moment that you fall in love with the word, you fall in love with life wholeheartedly. And so we just want to leave you with that, like, you know, don't drive yourself crazy. Like, what should I do? What should I not do? Like, everything that we're saying at the end of the day is our experience. It's our opinion. It's the only thing that we can talk to you about. But the testimony of Jesus is the only thing that really stands true. And so we just highly encourage you to read the word. We love the word. And so if you ever want to have Bible studies, I have a blog in the image of Day, DEI, and where I'm doing like this series on just getting to know the basics of the Bible, because I think it's really important, you know. And I know Denise breaks down the Bible a lot, and these ladies as well, like we just all love the word. And so reach out to us. Dude, like, I can talk about Jesus all day long. And so, yeah, thank you for tuning in. It went longer. We didn't cover the Q&A questions, so stay tuned for part 3, where we'll finally tell you where you can go out for dates. It's gonna be.
This one was supposed to be lighthearted.
Yeah, this is supposed to be lighthearted, but you know what? I think Jesus is just zealous for his bride.
I agree.
And I think he's just wanting us to
get it together. Like,
back to the basics.
Yeah, like, honestly,
Serve
from the
him.
beginning to the end, yeah, like, you know, there's good times, there's bad times, but it's just a romance. Like, as Denise was saying, like, God is love, and he can't, anything that he says, war, discipline, rebuke, whatever the case may be, it's always a place of love. If you don't understand that, then, you know, it's not my job to make you understand that. It's the Holy Spirit. And so we just pray for you. We honor you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We pray that this touched your life some way, somehow. And if it did, please let us know. If you guys don't agree with us, like, please let us know as well.
We welcome the controversy, obviously.
We welcome the controversy. We love it. So thank you, ladies. You guys brought the thunder. I can tell you guys were missing this. So stay tuned for part 3. Coming at you live. Well, not live, but sign up for In the Vine Dating Mixer. Back to the basics. InTheVineDating.com. You can buy your ticket, and we hope to see you soon. Bye. Pray for your single friends. It's hard out here. Bye.
Bye for reals this time.